Hello, this is Retired Geek Woman, and this is part 1 of my playthrough Skyrim. I'm hoping for the first time since 11 of 11 that I actually completed. I'm going to start with some housekeeping items with you during this incredible opening sequence of Skyrim. I am using the special edition through Steam. I use only one mod, which is Convenient Horses, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. Otherwise, this is pretty much a vanilla experience that I'll be sharing with you. I play Skyrim on easy, very easy, because I like to enjoy the story and experience and not be reloading all the time from dying. Dying makes me mad, and I don't like to get mad when I'm trying to relax. So there's no power gaming here. This is a playthrough to enjoy the story and the experience and the beauty of Skyrim, not be constantly having to reload because I died by mistake. I love playing a mage character, which can be overpowering in Skyrim, but please note my previous comment. I've never played Skyrim to completion, and I'm hoping if I get people interested in my gameplay, it will encourage me to actually finish it. So please subscribe, please make comments, and hopefully that will help me finish this game that I've been wanting to play and finish to the end since 2011. I just haven't. I get bored sometimes, or something new and shiny comes out and I want to try that. So that's the reason that I just haven't ever finished it. And I do struggle with Skyrim as far as the terrain. It's so cold looking. I always feel cold when I play it, even in the middle of summer like it is now. So I don't know what it is. So I'd like to finish it, and I hope you can join me on this journey and can help me along and encourage me to finish it. This is my first time recording gameplay ever. So please be gentle with your constructive criticism that I do encourage. Note that you can play Skyrim without the spoken text on the screen, which I do prefer for immersion. But for the sake of this playthrough, since I'll occasionally be talking over the NPCs, I will leave it on so we can see what they are saying. Plus, sometimes you will get quests on your quest log by overhearing someone say something. So this way we'll be able to see who said what that prompted a particular quest. I do roleplay. I like role-playing games. So this is me using my magical powers to help the peoples of Skyrim in any way that I can. I do have some game rules for myself. I don't fast travel unless I'm stuck or can't find my way or get tired, at which point I usually quit playing for the day. I don't travel at night unless I have to. So that's a big rule for me. No fast travel. Let's explore this game and get into it, and so okay, don't just ride my horse and get where I need to go if I can in that way. So it takes longer than a lot of players. So this may be a long series, or it could end really quickly if I get no one watching me, or I'll just keep doing this for my own self. I also, I'm sorry, I'm checking over my rules to make sure that I'm sharing with you. Please consider subscribing to my channel. It will encourage me to continue doing this if others find value in watching my play, which is very different from anything I've seen. Mostly I see power gamers. The only person that I've ever seen so far who just enjoys the game for what it is Grandma Shirley. And in some private conversations with Grandma Shirley, she has encouraged me to follow my passion, and doing blogging on my blog site, which is retiredgeekwoman.com, and posting game videos is also my passion, or has become my passion, and she encouraged me to follow it. So I love the opening sequence of Skyrim from the first time I saw it. It's different than any game I've ever played. And I'll share a little bit more about that later. I want to talk about character creation. Since I am a a female. I always want to play a female character, and I'm a retired senior, so I don't look 20 years old. And I know that some people want to play something completely different than what they are. They play lizards and other things, or males want to play females, females want to play males. For me, I don't relate as much to a character unless it looks a little bit like me in some way. So I really like the Skyrim character creation, that if you wanted to, you can mess with this quite a bit and end up with a character, very specific looking character. And so in this case, I choose Bretons a lot, partially because you can create a very human looking character, and partially because Bretons have extra magicka, which you don't have with some of the other characters. So I like playing a magic character, and so the Breton allows me to do that a little bit easier. So you can see here that this character is starting to shape up a little bit with an older looking face. I love characters' eyes, so I love it that I could make gray eyes, which I don't have, but I love gray eyes. So I get to have that fantasy that I couldn't have for my own self. I do have long hair, so I always try to pick characters with long hair or make them as long as I can. And I have gray hair, so I'm able to make a character with gray hair. One complaint about Skyrim that I heard directly from Grandma Shirley recently is she said the hair in Skyrim looks like straw, and I think she pegged it right on the nose. The hair is not the greatest. They could have spent a little more time on that, but I can have a long hair character with gray hair. I'm good with that. That helps me with immersion. And I always name my characters Rhiannon. And there's a story behind that I'll share with you here in a moment. As we see what's happening here, it appears that there's a war going on. And in this scene, the Imperials are the bad guys, which is really interesting since the Imperials were very important in Oblivion. So here I came as a character from Oblivion, where the Imperials were the good guys. And here they're trying to chop my head off. So it appears there's this group called the Stormcloaks. And we don't know what's happening. We're not sure. There is some kind of war going on, as you can see from this scene. And right now, anyway, I'm not too happy with the Imperials because they are trying to chop my head off for whatever reason. So this opening sequence is a tutorial. It kind of gives you the history of what's going on in the game. It shows you how to move, your key commands as we go along this tutorial. It shows you what your key commands. So that's the whole purpose of this opening tutorial, which I was just enthralled with. Even though the computer that I first played this on was way underpowered, and I had to watch this in way low graphics and low everything. When I finally got a really good gaming rig, I could enjoy this game in all of its beauty. And I did. It's like, wow, that's really something. It really, it was really a major accomplishment at 11 years ago. And so we're going to enjoy it now in its beauty. It's vanilla beauty. I haven't edited or changed anything. So here in this opening sequence, we are getting ready to have our head chopped off. Apparently they think we are a Stormcloak or something. And so the game pulls you. I mean, you can look around at certain points, but at certain points such as this, you have no control over your character, and you're forced to lay down and get ready to have your head chopped off. And just in the nick of time, a dragon shows up. It's like, holy cow. And it kind of just wreaks havoc here and messes up the Imperials' plan to chop off your head. So there's a Ralof who you had come in with and had talked to you when you first woke up, says, hey, wake up, come this way. And we come in here and into the keep to try to get some safety. And we're going to just follow along here and see what's going on. Ulfric is saying, it's not the dragons, something's going on. We don't know what's going on, but we need to move. And so Ralof says, hey, let's go up to the top of this tower, trying to keep us safe here. And so we follow Ralof at the top of the tower, and he's saying, just get some rocks out of the way, we'll be good. So we get up here just in time to have the dragon knock a hole in the wall there, and just daggone near blew everybody up. So Ralof is giving us some instruction. Again, I missed this the first time because I didn't have text on the screen. He tells you to jump down over here. We'll catch up as soon as we can. So at this point, you're running for your life, there's a pointer that's telling you basically where to go and who to go to. When you get to that person, then it will continue on. Look at that little boy right there. His name, I think, is Hamlet, and I think he was the little boy at the beginning who says, hey, Papa, what's going on? And he's sitting out on the porch, and his dad tells him to go inside, and he does. I think that little boy's name is Hamlet, so let's try to remember that little boy's name for later in the game. Of course, the dragon is just absolutely destroying Helgen, and the Imperial here is basically saying, just, you want to live, stay with me. So, okay, I'll stay with you as long as I can here. And so I think it's funny here, get knocked down completely. Notice that my hands are not tied together. I don't know if that's happened to me before in any of my plays where I got knocked down like that. I think I just wasn't paying attention for a minute there, and it just the right time to knock me down and undo my hands. Notice that. There's that dragon right there. And then we come upon Ralof, who says, hey, you can do what you want. We're out of here. And so you can follow either one. I always go with the Stormcloaks, which is Ralof. I did that by accident the first time, and then I actually read the Prima guide to kind of get a handle on what's going on here. What way is there two different options? And since then, I've stayed on the Stormcloak side. The Stormcloaks make sense to me. I don't like what the Imperials were doing, especially trying to chop my head off. I think it's really interesting here that Ralof doesn't seem to know that I have these hands that are undone, but I can't, I'm not looking at my own character, but he says, hey, come here, I'll take those bindings off, and he does cut them. So maybe he just cuts them off my wrist already, I don't know. So again, this is the beginning here where you can get a little bit, some armor, a singular weapon here, which he tells you to put on, and this is the only time I actually use any kind of an axe or anything. In the rest of the tutorial here, I'll be using a sword because I like them a little bit better as far as the way they look and swing. After that, I'm a 100% magic user, and I'll explain some more about that a little bit later. But for now, just to kind of help Ralof out here, I'll just wield this axe and help as best I can. And it says here to access your magic. While I'm going to be a mage character, and I always play a mage character, I don't play it here. I found it to be a little bit clunky, and I wanted to be able to help out right there. So I just don't use magic in this part of the game. But as soon as I am able to, I equip magery, and that's what I use the rest of the game. Interestingly, if you looted that body fast enough, you would have the key. But if you don't fast enough, then Ralof grabs it and says, I think this is the key to get us out of here. So I kind of wander along here, picking up as much loot and weapons as I possibly can to get myself a little better equipped. I really don't like wearing Imperial armor. It seems so wrong. But at the same time, you want to get a little bit of armor rating here in the beginning so that I'm not running around with just a cloth robe on. So we're going to follow Rayloff, as he says, before the dragon knocks the whole thing down. And kind of, he seems to know where he's going, so we're going to follow him along here and see if he can't get us out of this mess.
That dragon doesn't give up easy. Grab everything important and let's move. Dragon's burning everything to the ground.
So the dragon is kind of directing our direction here as he's blocking the way. At this area, training area here, you're told to pick up some potions, and you can search around for any other things of use. You might note that there are tons of things that have absolutely no use, but you could pick them up. And I guess it's cool. It's an immersion thing. But in the beginning, I was picking everything up because I didn't know. And you get buckets and cups, and well, there's a nice death scene, which I still, since I don't play swords and stuff, I don't see that very often. Spoons and forks and whatever. But it's directing you to get some potions. Interestingly, you almost never find potions in barrels. But they're encouraging you, that's teaching you to look in barrels. But after a while, you realize there's nothing in barrels but food or forks or stuff like that. At least that's my experience. So I very rarely check barrels when I'm in a dungeon or wherever. I do check shelves carefully because you never know what's going to be on a shelf that's going to be of use. And apparently there's some Imperials that had gotten in here, and Rayloff and the gang there is taking care of them for us. So we're going to kind of run along and pick up their stuff. I will get as much as I can to my weight limit, which is 300 at this point, until I can't hardly carry anything, and then I'll start to sort through a little bit and get the higher value items. And here's the tutorial on the lockpicking, which I like lockpicking a lot better in Skyrim than Oblivion, which I'll compare a lot too, because Oblivion is my favorite game in the series. But I like the lockpicking graphics. It does feel like I'm picking a lock. I love it. And who of us cannot pick up a single gold piece if we see one? I don't care if I've got 100,000 gold. I still have to pick up individual pieces of gold. I'm incapable of not picking it up. I found a magic hood, which I'm going to wear. I don't like wearing things on my head. It messes up my hair. Hey, say what you want. I don't like it to mess up my hair, but in this particular part of the game, it's that is a good thing to have because it helps my magicka a little bit. So I'll be wearing it until I can find something a little more stylish that looks good on me. So we got everything together. I hate it that when you get close to Rayloff, sometimes he turns around like you're going to talk to him. So you'll see me occasionally backing up like I just did, so that he will go on. It's like, go on, Rayloff, I'm behind you. It's very frustrating for me that he does that the characters do that, but I understand why they do, because if you don't, then if you don't, it's hard to get them to stop to talk to them, which I have seen in other games where you're running up to catch up to them and they're still walking away from you. So again, kind of look through here, see if there's anything else we could use. I happened to catch a coin purse out of the corner of my eye, trying to get as much gold and highest value items as I can when I leave this part, so that we have a little bit of gold to get us started in the game. Because got specific goals here in the beginning. Gold is very, very important when you're first getting started because you have none. So it's a good idea to get as much as you can before you leave this area. And we'll go into that more a little bit later. So I always check skeletons. You never know who that was that died. That might have some valuable stuff for us. So Rayloff will wait for you. He generally won't run off without you. So that's kind of a good thing since he's leading us through this part here. So we'll continue following him through this part of the training dungeon. And we're coming up on a bunch more Imperials. And you can either jump into the mix and just hack away or whatever you want to do. The red dots on there tell you how many enemies there are in the area and where they are. So if I wanted to get involved, I could, or I can let these Stormcloaks take care of them, and I can just clean up all the goodies. Doesn't matter. You can do it whichever way you want. Again, this is how I play. This is my playthrough, so that's what I choose to do. And kind of getting close here. I'm at 250 out of my 300, so I'm going to start being a lot more selective on what I'm picking up and trying to make sure that I have the highest value of stuff in my pack by the time we exit this dungeon, or I don't know what this part is. I guess it's still part of the keep. So before we exit the keep, I want to be loaded down with as high a value of stuff as I can get and as much gold as I can find. I like it that when you flip a switch, you can see in front of your eyes what that switch activated. Daggerfall drove me crazy, where you would flip a switch and 4 stories down and on the opposite side of the map something changed, and you had to go figure out what that was. I don't like puzzles. I'm not good at it. So when I have puzzles like that, I tended to rely on wikis and walkthroughs to figure it out for me. There are some minor puzzles that you have to figure out in Skyrim, but it's not a puzzle laden game, which is just fine for me. My brain just has never been good with any kind of puzzles at all. Crosswords, doesn't matter, you name it, I'm not good at it. My son tried to get me to play Portal, and I about went insane in the first 2 cubes, if you're familiar with Portal. I just didn't enjoy that challenge. So in Skyrim, I don't mind the mild things like that, where let's see, I've got a switch or a chain, or there's a few that come up here shortly, that it's like, okay, I can figure that out without using too much of what's left of my brain power. So, occasionally I'll get a little stuck, but not really bad. I haven't had to rely too much on wikis and walkthroughs. I've read some just to kind of get some ideas for things where I'm not sure which way to go, because you make choices and they affect things, and I want to affect the right things, if that makes any sense.
Hold up. There's some bear just ahead.
Okay, so
I'd rather not tangle with her.
all right, this part of the walkthrough, or the part of the tutorial, it's saying there's a bear over there, and you can do a couple things. You could run up and attack it and kill it with whatever you want. You can sneak past it. He also gives you a bow and arrow if you want to try that. And he's saying, it's up to you. Whatever you do, I'll follow you. So I am not a bow and arrow person, but I know that so many players do. And the concept that the reason why they use them is they want to stay back from whatever they are attacking and shoot it from a distance. And magery is the same exact concept. I want to stay back from whatever I'm attacking and shoot it from a distance. I just prefer to use magery for that. So I'm just not big on the bows and arrows. I'll dump them. If I find a valuable bow, I'll hang on to it till I could sell it. But for the most part, it's magery for me, and we'll get there really soon here. So we come out from Helgen, from this back way. I'm not going to use survival mode for all of the reasons you've heard me describe. If you want to play a really hard, if you're really a good player and you like to play on hard, choose survival mode. It does add a lot of realism. You can go back and read what that said. It was a free add-on with this version. It's part of the anniversary upgrade, and it's a free part of it that it upgraded my game automatically. So I don't know, maybe 10 years from now I'll be good enough to play on a harder setting, or I'll choose survival mode. So he tells us we should split up. Rayloff says we should split up. Good luck. Couldn't have done this without you and all that. And then he tells you to go see his sister in Riverwood. If you stay with him, he continues the conversation like he never said that. And I thought that was really interesting. So I guess you could have just, took off without him, but I just followed him. And he continues on. Is basically continuing on this tutorial. He tells you that you can go join the storm. You can go to join the Stormcloak Rebellion against the Imperials. I don't know. I just found it interesting. He says now we should split up, and then it's like what? It's very confusing to me. But I'll stop railing on that because it's happened so many times. It just frustrates me. He points out the Bleak Falls Burrow from the distance, and when I first played this, I couldn't see that because I couldn't see it at the distance, but now I can. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool that it's that far away and you can see it however far away it is. And he points it out for a reason because it's going to very quickly become a place that you need to know about. So we're going to follow him along here, and he's going to take you up to these stones. So he gives you basically a tutorial about the stones. Now I suppose you could have stumbled across this by yourself, and I suppose you might have figured out what these guardian stones are, but he does go ahead and tell you kind of what they are and go pick one. So a thief, a warrior, or a mage. And of course I'm going to pick mage because it gives me, again, abilities. You will learn skills. So I'm learning magery faster, 20% faster, because I clicked on that stone. You can look at which ones fit your needs, and there's many of them. I think he said there were 13 or something. So you'll come across other ones in other places. So you can learn more about those later, but at least he told me about them. And so, again, we continue to follow him along here. And we notice some steps to the right. And I love it. He says it's Stormcloak territory. And if you see any of them, I'll do the talking. I think I've restarted this game maybe 6 times, something like that. I've never seen any Stormcloaks along here. I don't know why he says that. So I thought it was interesting, and I'm curious if that ever happened to you. I used to never check these wolves after a while anyway, because the only thing they usually had was their pelts, which are worth 10 or something, and you get less for them when you actually sell them. But then occasionally I would find something valuable on them, so I do check them now just in case, because you never know. Oh, and now Ray loves glad that we're with them, and we're almost to Riverwood, which is going to be the first town that you actually encounter. And as you encounter towns, they start showing up on your map, on your game map, and that makes it possible to fast travel to places that you have discovered. In other words, places you've come across. Again, I'm not going to be fast traveling at all unless I can help it. But now that Riverwood will show up on my game map. So my goal when I got here, first thing is to go talk to Girder. Rayloff is going to take us to Girder. And you can see people are talking off to the side and the text is coming up on the screen. It's an option that you can turn that off separately from the dialogue text that you have. I just turned it on because I wanted to make sure that we could see when people are off to the side or are having conversations. And so Girder apparently is Rayloff's sister, and she's been very worried about him, and they don't know what has happened in Helgen, and so he's helping her. He's telling her what happened to us there, and introducing my character.
I owe her my life, in fact. Is there somewhere we can talk? There's no telling when the news from Helgen will reach the Imperials.
Helgen? Has something happened? You're right. Follow me. Hold. Come here a minute.
When I first started seeing these conversations between other people, I didn't realize that they were important as far as the story is concerned and getting quests. It is important. So I would occasionally before I would just not pay attention to other people's conversations. And I've learned that if you want to get immersed in the game, you want to find out what's going on, to get some background and history, you should stop and listen. So you'll see me doing that quite a bit. So they're having this whole conversation. Oh, and a little child comes running up, apparently Rayloff's nephew, and there's a little dog off to the side that keeps following the little child around.
Almost a grown man. Won't be long before you'll be joining the fight yourself.
That's right. Don't worry, Uncle Rayla. I won't let those soldiers sneak up on me.
Now, Raven, what's going on? You two look pretty well done in. I can't remember when I last slept. Where to start? Well, the news you heard about Alfred was true. The Imperials ambushed us outside Darkwater Crossing.
So here we're getting a recap of what happened in Helgen and how we got to be where we're going. And if you join the Imperial side, I don't know what they say about all this. I don't think I'll ever be able to make myself play that side. I know some that I have, but this sure seems like they're giving a good reason to join the Stormcloaks to me. And no fair trial, they tried to kill us, but then they talk about this dragon. And that no one can believe that there was a dragon. Apparently up to this point there hadn't been any. And so, but the dragon helped us get away. So it's very interesting how dragons come into this story.
Maybe we can lay up for a while. I hate to put your family.
And it's really great that we're able to get at least a base of a place to sleep without having to pay anything while we are so low on gold. And Gerder gives us a key to their house and said, come anytime you like, and she offers to help. And you should probably take all this because you can sell what you don't need or want. A lot of people like to eat food. I don't generally eat food. I probably should explore that part of the game, but I never have. Never have really explored cooking much. I don't know. I probably should for immersion purposes. Anyway, we do have a place to stay with Gerder and her husband Han, and I got a key. And so she's going to go back to work, and Hod and me and Rayloff are going to go check out the house that they've invited us to stay at. And it's funny, the first few times I really was just rushing around in awe and looking around. I didn't pay attention where exactly that house was, and it took me forever to find it. But I learned after a couple of playthroughs that if you hang out here a minute, Hod will take you right there. So we're going to let Hod take us to the house so that we know kind of where it is as far in relation to the rest of the town, because it's like not right on the main path there. And as you're walking by places, on your local map of the area, then it populates so that you can more easily find places like the blacksmith and the merchandising traders and things like that. They'll show up on your map so that when you come into a town and you've been to that town, the areas you've walked to or through will be right there on your map so you can more easily find things. And these towns are not huge. These smaller burgs like this, they're not huge. Some of the other ones are bigger, but you know, they're not so big that you can't find what you're looking for. And one complaint I guess I do have is that these merchants don't have a whole lot of gold, and there's only maybe one or two merchants in town that can sell the stuff that you have, or that will buy the stuff that you have. So I've always found that kind of frustrating. I end up with so much stuff that I can't sell because I can't find a merchant that has gold enough to buy the stuff. I don't know, maybe it's a way to keep you from being rich in the beginning of the game. I don't know. It just frustrates me because I have limited carrying ability. So we come inside here and I just take a quick look around. It looks like the beds are off to the right. There's a single bed there, a double bed there. Take note of that. So we're going to come out. We're going to go see if we can find a few merchants to buy the limited stuff that we have to sell. Again, this is Riverwood, and there just aren't a whole lot of people to buy stuff. There's a blacksmith here that will buy mostly armor and weapons. So we're gonna check him real quick,
Protect yourself.
and you can see his if things to buy are above the line and your stuff is below the line. So be careful. I can't tell how many times I have bought things when I meant to sell things. So kind of be aware of that when the first time playing. I know I'm probably not talking to too many people that are first time playing, but just wanted to mention that because I've made that mistake when I first started and occasionally after. So trying to get rid of some of this Imperial stuff that I have on me. I don't know how much gold he had to start with. I wasn't paying attention. But we're going to try to get rid of as much as we possibly can. And I probably should have been looking here for what weighs the most so we can get our weight down. Notice here that there's little numbers after things, like there were 3 light bracers. Pay attention to that because I almost didn't sell it because I know that I had it equipped. I got 5 swords. I only need 1. So be sure you click on those to get rid of them all. I'm getting rid of the arrows, all of them, not worth anything. And so now our gold's up to a little over 300. So we're getting closer to my goal of when we leave this area of what I want to have on me. And I'm still wearing the Stormcloak Cuirass, which will do for now. At least it's not an Imperial thing, which I just absolutely do not want to wear. So I'm going to take a quick look to see what's left, making sure that I've got the best, that I've equipped the best armor that I can. I'm wearing a novice hood for my magic. I don't want to wear the novice robes because I want a little bit more protection. Little kids are so cute. So I want a little more protection than just a magic robe. Later, when my character's a little bit stronger, then yeah, we can go with some magic robes and things. So we come into the general merchant here, and they're having an argument about something. And then he's like, "Oh, sorry about that." I love those kinds of things. That they notice you're there. So of course I want to ask what happened, and he's going to tell us here about a break-in. Some bandits came in and they stole a golden claw from the shop. Nothing else, just a golden claw. No, and he said it's an ornament. So apparently he only thinks it's an ornament, but these bandits stole it, and he wants to know if you'll bring it back. So this starts in that conversation, it starts a new quest. And he's like, if sooner you can get it back, the sooner our lives get back to normal. So that's a kind of interesting statement. So let's be careful here again that I'm selling stuff that I want to sell. Probably ought to keep all that stuff for my health, but I end up with so many health potions. There's no need for me to have all that. Notice that garnet was worth 33, so we're going to keep an eye out for those. I'm just getting rid of all the miscellaneous stuff that Gerder so nicely gave us. I debated about the robe because I wasn't sure. It helps your Magicka regenerate 50% faster, but it has no armor rating, and I think I'll wait on that for a little while. Hang on to my potions. The rings and necklaces, I'm going to probably get rid of them for now. I do have 2 Stormcloak cuirasses. We'll get rid of one of those. Hang on to those potions. They become important, especially early on, and I forget to use them. I thought this is really interesting. I had not noticed that she offers to escort us to the falls, where we're supposed to go to find those bandits. Camilla does. I don't remember seeing that prior to this. Maybe I'm rushing too often and not slowing down to hear the conversations and see what's going on. And so she's basically offered to escort us towards the burrow where we're supposed to go to find those bandits and that golden claw. And I found it really interesting that her husband said, okay, but only to the edge of town. Like he has some kind of authority over her. But then, look at the time frame, I guess. I would have said, I'm sorry, I will do whatever I want to do. But, different time, I guess. So it's interesting that she keeps talking about this claw. He's a tricky one. I found it interesting. She says her husband is tricky. So she walks us to the edge of town here. And she points us in the direction that we are going to be going.
This is the bridge out of town. The path up the mountain to the northwest leads to Bleak Falls Barrow. I guess I should get back to my brother. He'll throw a fit if I take too long.
Ah, yes, brothers and sisters. Ugh. But wouldn't brothers and sisters just about do anything for one another? So let's enjoy the beauty here as we wander up to the Bleak Falls Barrow. And I like it that the path is usually relatively clearly marked. Most of the time there's a stack of stones that indicate that you're headed in the right place. And I had forgotten to equip my magic, so I decided to grab that sword real quick because that's what I had equipped, and take care of that thing. And then at this point I go ahead and make my spells my favorites, and I like to dual wield, so left and right, and so I put them in my favorites because there's a quick key to get to your favorites. So I like to do one favorite weapon, whatever good sword that I have, the best sword that I have, and then my magicka, and usually a healing potion as well. Put all those things in my favorites, so it makes it so much easier to get to them at crucial moments, so that you can switch in between. Let's say you run out of magicka and you want to switch to a sword or whatever. You can favorite just about anything with a quick key and have easy, quick access to that. And I just noticed that the scenery here is just so beautiful, the shadows, and it's just, I don't know. To me, this was just really a very beautifully done game, with the exception of the cold. Like I said, just seeing that snow come off the edge, I was so cold. I made a mistake right there that's going to come into play here in a few minutes. It's like, I can't believe I did that. But we learn, right? I learn anytime I'm watching a gameplay video, I learn multiple valuable things. So off to the left here, there's some bandits, and half the time when I walk by here, they're attacking me. So you know what? Let's go ahead and just take care of the problem. Right now, I'm using this flames spell. Unfortunately, it really drains my magery if I use it quite a bit. That's the blue line there. But that's all I have for now. I have sparks and this flame spell. We'll get a different spell later that I like better. So we're just going to come along here and wipe these guys out as they are smack talking us about how we shouldn't have come and all this other stuff. So we're just kind of clean them out, anything that we can find. Bad time to get lost. I am totally not lost. You guys are just rude. So while we're here, we're picking up some valuable lock picks that we'll need. Lock picking is really important in this game, and there's a lot. I think there's places where you absolutely have to lock pick. So trying to find as many as we can. And I collect a lot of ingots if I can, if I have space for them, because later on we're going to be building our own home. Part of this edition of Skyrim has the Hearthfire add-on where you can build your own home from scratch. You'll need ingots and wood and quarried stone and all kinds of stuff, which I find to be one of to me, housing in a game is important because it makes me feel like I am part of the world. And, put down roots kind of thing. And while a lot of people don't bother with that, I find it interesting. And yeah, I know I can play The Sims and build my own houses or whatever, but I find that games like this that have that added feature of being able to build my own home, I just love it. I think it adds so much to the game. I'm going to tell you another story in a minute about my experience purchasing Skyrim originally, but first we're going to take care of some of these bandits that are guarding the burrows here. And it always makes me mad when I'm getting hit and I can't see very good on what's hitting me. Again, if I just paid attention to the red dots, which I forget about sometimes. Yeah, I know. Mama Jika's low. It's okay. So we'll check these guys. I think mostly they just have regular stuff, but we're going to get as much gold and stuff as we can, so that when we leave here, we are loaded down to the max. And again, that's going to help us with as much gold as we can on our next part of our journey. So I'm coming up to the top here. I noticed that there is no marker on the door. It's telling me to go somewhere else. So I looked at the world map. It's like, okay, where is this sending me? I don't understand. Is the door over there? So I start looking around for the marker. Towards the marker, it's like maybe it's down there. I didn't remember. It had been such a long time since I had played this part of the game. I didn't remember that, yeah, that's the right place, all right. So I'm looking around trying to figure it out, and I almost took off. I thought maybe it's around back. How could I have missed this? So I start down this path, and I'm thinking in my back of my head, I know I'm in the right place. So I'm going to pull this up and pull my map up and take a look before I go too much further. Then I noticed I didn't have this quest clicked on. I had clicked on the wrong, or I had not clicked on this one after we got it. So this is a reminder to pay attention to the current quest that you are on and where you are headed, if you are using your map to find things, which I'm obviously doing. Once I got the proper quest highlighted or clicked on, then my pointer told me that the door that I had just walked away from is in fact the correct door to the Bleak Falls Burrow. So senior moments like that can really be a pain in the neck, so just keep your eyes out. And when we first come in here, when we first walk in here, you'll see that there's dead things already. There's some dead mice, or skeevers or whatever they're called, a couple dead bandits. Now, if I had been playing this game on a much harder or any harder level, these things would have attacked me as soon as I walked in the door. But as I mentioned, I'm playing on very easy and I don't care. So if you want a little more of a challenge, then bump that up a bit, and when you walk in the door, those things will not already be dead. So I'm going to wander around here and look for things. I used to not check skeevers, and then one time I did, and I found, I don't remember if it was a gem or a something valuable. It was something, a ring or something. I thought, okay, now I got to start checking the skeevers. They're annoying as all get out, but it's worth it to check for them. While we're going through this beginning part here, I would like to share with you my experience of pre-ordering Skyrim. I pre-ordered it from my local GameStop along with the Prima Guide, and on the day that it was released, I was out of town for a family funeral, and I was so frustrated. I contacted GameStop and asked if I could transfer my purchase to a GameStop nearby where I was currently located, and they wouldn't let me. So I was just talking to my husband about this, who had stayed at home, and he said, well, I'll go get it for you. And I should explain that my husband is a business traveler. He is not a gamer. He doesn't understand the concept of gaming. While he supports my addiction, he is not a gamer and he doesn't get it. And I said, well, you know, if you are there anytime after they open, you're going to be in line forever. This is a massive game, and lots of people have pre-ordered it, and they're all going to show up when the store opens to get it. And he said, it's okay, it's no big deal. So he gets there about 30 minutes before they open, and he's sitting in his car. And about 20 minutes before they open, the line is forming. And he's like, oh my gosh. So he gets out of the car and he gets in line. And he's standing in line with a bunch of geeks. And he couldn't have looked any more out of place, as I imagined that. And so he gets to the counter, and the guy says to him, did you want to get one of those Prima guides? Well, he didn't know I had pre-ordered a Prima guide. And he says, yes. So I'm so glad that he did. And I'm so glad that guy said that. Because the guy said those Prima guides will be gone by mid-morning. And there was a huge stack of them. And I'm sure my husband didn't believe him. So here's one of the easier puzzles that if you just pay attention, you can figure it out. Up top, there were 3 statues, and there was one that was fallen. So you look at the 3 statues, and it tells you what these 3 things need to be turned to so that you can open that lever without dying. It showed you the guy that was pulling the lever, and it zapped him with some kind of shock or something. So those are not too hard of puzzles to figure out. If you really just look around, you could that doesn't overtax my retired brain at all. And then I can see the door open right in front of me. So easy peasy, just a little bit of thinking there and not overthinking. And read books that you find, especially if the value of the books is over 50, because generally they'll be a skill book. I heard one streamer say that he had heard that you should save those books for later in the game. I can understand that concept of doing that. So that whenever your skill is in the 90s or whatever, it's easier to level up. So I've never gotten that far in the game. So maybe at some point I'll start saving those spell books or skill books for later on. But for now, I just rather level up. Maybe when I get a house or something, I'll have a chest for the skill books, and I don't know if you can even take them without reading. I guess you can. I'll try to pay attention here the next one, and then make it easier for leveling. I don't care. I think that the way I play, I'm overpowered in the beginning anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it is a tip for those of you who do want to try to level you want to play on a much harder level, and you want to have an easier time leveling up. What you see me do is heal myself even though I barely needed healing, and I do that to raise my healing skills and raise my level. So I'll heal myself even though I barely need it. Looked like there was a little arrow, see I'm getting close to something I needed to see. Getting a lot of spiders here, spider webs, and I hate spiders. Oh, I hate spiders. But it's okay. They're ugly, they're nasty, they poison you, but and this, at least the way I play, it's not such a big deal. So we got a bus through here. We got a guy yelling who you can't hear him really very much right now. He'll wait till I'm ready to get to him. Oh, looks like I've been poisoned briefly, and I run my magery out here trying to zap that thing, and I could have grabbed a sword, but it's almost dead, so I just back off a little bit so I can get a little more of my magery to recover, and then I've zapped him. And so I'm going to go ahead and heal myself just to work on that healing a little bit. And I could have just stood there and waited because I'm automatically recovering anyway, but I want to help it along just to improve my skills and to get closer to leveling up. So we're going to go back in here and check out the frostbite venom. I don't know. I never collect it from them. They're just annoying. I never found anything on spiders, but maybe there are things. So the guy just yelling his head off, but I'm going to take my sweet time and check around in case there's something here. You never know. It might be something that you can use. Check those skeevers. I don't need to. I think that those eggs have eggs in them. And it's like, okay, do I want to walk on that? I don't think so, because I might fall down through. I don't remember. So after I'm done checking everything out, I go and talk to this guy. Let's take note here. Never trust someone with the last name of Swift. So he's convincing you that you need to help him out. I really like the relative ease of maneuvering. Oh, hey buddy, I will see you later. So as soon as I get to you, I'll find you later. The dungeons, I don't know if any of you have ever played Daggerfall. The dungeons in Daggerfall were a nightmare. And those that redid Daggerfall in Unity understood that, and you can actually make dungeons smaller, all dungeons smaller except for the quest or the major quest dungeons. But they were so awful. I played it originally when, like, a year after Daggerfall came out, and it was basically unplayable. They were ridiculously hard to navigate. They were ridiculously huge. There were no pointers to tell you where to go, which, good, bad. Some people love it, some people don't. I kind of like it. I don't mind dungeon crawling, but I don't like getting lost in the dungeons. I don't like spending my entire literal afternoon in a single dungeon trying to figure out where to go. And I found that to be very frustrating in a game like Daggerfall. With Skyrim, you get a map. You can see areas that you can clearly see areas where you have been and where you need to go. It's got pointers pointing you in the right direction. If you like getting lost in dungeons, play Daggerfall. You'll love it. I love Daggerfall anyway, but dungeons not so much. So at this point, I think I'm getting pretty close to my max encumbrance, so I'm looking for gold and any higher value items. And you will see that a lot of these draugrs are already dead. That's because of the ease of use that I'm playing on. If I hadn't selected that, all of those would be attacking you. So if you want to make it harder, go for it. Some of them are empty, some of them have goodies, looking for gold. And slowly making my way. Notice there was a switch plate right there to the right, and if you step on that, something's going to happen, namely a gate is going to smash you. And so I try to pull this draugr to it so that when he steps on it, it'll smash him, and I think it kind of did. Between me shooting at him and that door, it smashed him. So obviously step around that so you don't hurt your own self. We got a little pointer here saying something's there that we need to pay attention to. And I try to be methodical when I move around a room like that so I don't miss something. And who do we find? Well, hello there, Mr. Swift, who has the golden claw. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Find the secret of Bleak Fallsborough. So that was interesting. So we got a further quest aside from the claw that we were looking for. So, okay, we will find the secret of Bleak Fallsborough, whatever that might be. I think that there was a quest that you pick up from somewhere which would have sent you back here. So we're just going to get it all with one shot. How's that? So I could have taken a potion to get my major back up, but it regenerates slowly because I haven't got the right equipment on yet. But it was enough to where if I could back up enough, I was able to wipe out that final draugr so that we can move on here and find the secret that we're supposed to find. And collecting our gold along the way. Our health and magicka are regenerating by itself, so we can, if we go a little bit slower, then it'll do that for us. And then we see the dreaded swinging axes. It's rare for me to be able to get through these without getting cut up, but I try to dash through them if I can. Sometimes you just simply, it's like, ooh, a stairway. It was worth it to take a quick look here. Never know, there might be something super valuable. Oh, and we're going to try our lockpicking skill. If I'm low on lockpicks, then a lot of times I'll just save right before. And if I run out of lockpicks and it's still not unlocked, if I deem that I want to keep trying, I'll reload. I know that's cheating, but I just find it really hard to walk away from a chest that I really want to open. In this case, it only took a couple, and it had 1 gold. It did have branded iron armor, which is worth 200. So, you know, you won't get 200 for it, but still, that's a pretty good piece of armor that I can sell. But I thought it was funny. It had 1 piece of gold in it. It's like, really? So we're going to dash. Ooh, it got me, but not too bad. I can't tell you how many times when I first started, I would die right there. Now this makes no sense. You pull that chain, it stops those things, but we're not going that way. It's like, why wasn't the chain on the other side? Is there another way in that I didn't know about? Because I don't know. It seems like to me it should have been a chain on the other side. Maybe I missed it. I don't think so. Now notice there's some oil on the ground and there's an oil pot above. You can catch that oil on fire and that actual pot exploded and it burns them up. I think that's so cool that you can use stuff like that, but be careful you don't run into it because it's fire and it'll hurt you too. Unfortunately, I had another one I couldn't draw them in, but that's okay. Or two of them, I guess. That's okay. We can take care of them. But it would have been nice if I could have drawn them all into the fire. So you can use traps like that to your advantage. Just be careful that you don't wipe yourself out at the same time. So just wander around all these Draugr areas. It's like, okay, have I been there? And just gonna poke around, try not to miss things. I'm sure that I have, because I'm usually hurrying to get through to where I need to go. But it's always a good idea to slow down just a tiny bit. I always try to do a save right before I go into what could be a fight. And this room looked like a fight to me. If it was on harder mode, I think there would probably have been maybe 3 or 4 Draugrs attack you, but it looked like a nice little chest there. Usually if there's a chest, there's something around it. So that's 1, 2, I think there's one to the right. There was 3 maybe. So we got a soul gem and some gold out of it. So that was good, and I didn't even have to unlock it. Pull the chain, door opens, easy peasy. I think the water looks really nice in this game. It flows nicely. It's like, okay, what would have killed a troll? Interesting. And there's a chest. Sometimes chests are lit up and sometimes they're in the dark. Oh, I love finding scrolls, especially ones worth 500. They don't weigh hardly anything. And while you won't get 500 for it, you're going to get a good amount for it, a lot more than a sword or a mace or something. So when I'm looking to dump weight, I never dump my scrolls, and I never use them. I never think of it. It's like once you use it, it's gone. So I always sell them. I never use the scrolls. I think there's some quests in the game where you kind of have to, I think. And my first level up. Yay! I alternate usually between Magicka and health, back and forwards to make sure that they're generally evenly, just because. Perks, I generally start off with my destruction to that's going to take, I forget, half the Magicka. What I find is that I don't like the level up system in Daggerfall at all. In Skyrim at all. I end up with perks I don't know what to do with. I know that in my last playthrough, I had like 9 perks I hadn't used yet because I wasn't sure where I wanted to put them. And it's limited on how many that you get. And so I'm never quite sure what I want to do with them, or which skills I really would be the most beneficial to me. And part of that is because I play on such an easy level and I get so overpowered so early, it doesn't matter. So for me, if you're playing on a much harder level, you're going to have to research what you should do and use them to the best advantage. I'm not going to be able to be helpful for you on that, but I'll try not to have too many leftover perks on this playthrough, and I'll try to figure it out, and I'll take suggestions for those who want to give me help if I need it, and if I'm stuck, and if I say please help me, then maybe you can help me with it, if anyone is even going to watch this or listen to me. I'm doing it mostly for me anyway, so but I sure hope I get some people along the way to share this journey with me. I like it they show those death or kill scenes. It reminds me of what armor and weapons that I have on me, and lets me see myself. I love playing first person. That's why I'm playing it. I bet every once in a while it's nice to see myself and make me, yeah, I'm bad. I've never understood why we have thousands and thousands of linen wraps. It's like, what is the purpose of thousands and thousands of linen wraps? Maybe I just don't understand what they're used for. They're everywhere. And cups. I mean, I get the cups. It adds ambiance. But linen wraps, if you know what those are for, and please tell me, because it's always bugged me that they're everywhere. And I loved it. There was a oil patch here, but I guess if I had on a harder level, there'd be draugrs everywhere, and you could burn them up. Unfortunately, there weren't any of the only two. There were two up here up top. I guess I could have lured him down, but then I'd have to watch the fire myself, and I didn't want to burn myself up. And finally, we come to the door where we can use the golden claw. So if you've never seen this before, you look at the claw closely, and it will tell you the order of those things you got to move. You look at it real close, and it gives you the order. It took me forever to figure that out. It's like, okay, I know this is telling me something. So you just put them in the order of what you see on the claw. And there's other claws in the game. So this is a useful thing to remember. Just move these things around to where they need to be in the right order. And then when you activate the inner ring, the claw goes out of your pack into the lock, turns the lock, and opens a door. And the claw goes back into your pack. I can't remember how many overall there are in the game. I've never gotten very far in the game, so there may be more later. I have no idea. So finally, we come into this big room, and it looks like an important room, so we're going to do that quick save. Check around so we don't miss anything, which I probably did. I got very excited because here we are in this big room, and You may not be able to hear it because I've got the sound bed turned way down. But there's a wall up there and it's calling. It's calling out. It's very, it's a chant, basically. I thought there had been something back there, but so it's this wall that is chanting to me and pulling me to it. And as I get closer, I've learned a word of power, force, unrelenting force. At this point, we don't know what it is. So it tells me to bring the claw back to Lucian, and we're certainly not going to tell him about the secret that we found. Let him think that it was just a decorative thing. And so that Draugr did some kind of a shout or something and tried to hurt me. And he's got a dragonstone. Interesting. So we're going to grab it because it looks interesting. And I'm overloaded. So take a look here what I'm going to do. I think I'm only 9 over. And just find a few things that, see, the arrows have no weight, but I don't want them. They're worth nothing to sell, and get them out of my pack. So just kind of take a look here, try to find what I can get rid of to get my weight down a little bit. There's a few things to grab. Potions, I don't usually use those kind of potions, but I take them if they're over 50 in value, and later I'll change that to 100 or something. And then we've got some decent iron gauntlets, some gold, a wonderful 500 value scroll, and a circlet of minor alteration. But we're overloaded, so I'm going to take a look and see what else I could have gotten rid of. Sometimes I'm in a rush and I don't look close enough of what the most weight or the least value is, and get rid of things. I should have got rid of other things, but that's okay. We're loaded for bear. Got what we came for. We got a word of power out of the deal, which still at this point our character has no idea what that is. We find this little handle, we hit it, and it opens up a shortcut to leave the dungeon. And here's my problem with shortcuts. Since I do not fast travel, most of these shortcuts take you to a place way far away from where you needed to be, or from a path, from a road or anything. And that's what the case with this one. Because I don't fast travel, it's like, okay, how do I get from here to where I need to go? Oftentimes you're on the other side of a mountain. So here I am at the top of this mountain. I got to go back to Riverwood, and again, I'm going to have to slide down the mountain. And most of the time, I can, if I'm not running, if I'm walking, if you will, then I can carefully slide down the mountain without falling to my death. So that's what I'm trying to do, is fall as little as possible to get down the mountain, then get my bearings on where I'm at and where I want to go. So it looks like I'm going to have to go around the mountain a little bit. So that's okay. I'm going to get down to lower ground so I'm not hurting myself. I'm pretty sure that the river, I should have looked at my map here, but the river is kind of our base. And I wanted to look along this river because I thought I saw something when we were walking across the river on the other side to Riverwood. I thought I saw something that I wanted to take a look at. And since it's at night, we should be able to see it. And those of you who played Oblivion, when you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to walk along here and try to figure out where I'm going, how far I got to go. I noticed there's a little shack over there. I'm going to ignore pretty much all of that. I do believe there's something there of value that we need to come across later. But for now, I just want to get down, I want to get back to Riverwood to complete this quest of the Golden Claw. I want to sell the weapons and armor that I've picked up so that we have some base gold to get us started. And again, I'm following the marker on my map to get where where I need to go. And interestingly, occasionally when you do that, you come across something that you might not have ever seen before or you didn't know about. Don't remember ever seeing this frightened woman and her telling me about this. If I did, I just forgot. It's one of the advantages of having short-term memory loss is that I forget things that happened that were minor, so I don't remember this at all. So it's like, oh, okay, missed watch. Was talking. She gave me a quest basically, and or a location on my map. I think I don't remember seeing that before. So it's like, okay, well, thank you. So sometimes going off the beaten path, you're going to find things you would not have seen before. So that was kind of a cool, unexpected thing to happen. Off in the distance, right on the water, I see a glow. Do you see that glow? Now, I'd like to know how many of you who played Oblivion have the ability to walk away and not collect a Nirnroot. I would say no one, practically. Nirnroot is a huge quest line in Oblivion, and they make a sound and they glow, especially at night. You can see them. So I have an inability to not pick them up. So I pick them up. So I bet all of you do too. So now I'm back to Riverwood. And I think it's still nighttime. Let's double check. It's 4 a.m. So everybody's asleep that I need to deal with, I need to talk to. So I thought, well, you know what? Let's go take a nap at Gerder's house. We have a key. We can get in. I don't want to pay any of my precious gold that I have so little of at the inn. So I'm going to go over to Gerder and Hod's house and take a quick nap until morning when the shop owners open up. It says it's locked, but we have a key, so no problem. So I'm not breaking in. So we come in here, and there's 2 beds. One says it's owned, so you can't sleep in it. The other one is the one you can sleep in, but these 2 are sleeping in it. So that annoyed me because if they're going to give me a free place to stay, then give me a free place to stay. So what I do is I wake up Hod like I'm going to talk to him. And he thinks I'm going to talk to him. I'm not going to talk to him. I just woke him up so I could steal his bed. So I felt pretty okay about that, considering the fact there's a spare bed that we could have used, but it says owned. So I don't know if that was a bug, a mistake, or whatever, but I did not feel a bit bad waking up Hod so I could steal his spot on the bed. I could have woken either one of them up. So we're going to go out and thank you, Gerder. She's so nice and helpful. Ignore any conversations with anyone at this point. I just want to get to the point where I can sell as much of the stuff that I've looted from the Bleak Falls Borough so that we have a little bit of working capital. So we're going to talk to our Alvor here and sell as much of our weapons as I possibly can, especially the heavy stuff. I noticed I had an ancient Nord sword of cold. That makes a pretty good backup weapon at this point, because the one I have is just a plain old Imperial sword, I think. So we're going to hang on to that sword for now. Later on, when I'm doing 100% Magicka, which I'm getting close to doing that, I always try to keep a sword on hand. Never, very, very rarely use it, but I like to have one on hand anyway. So again, just getting rid of stuff we don't need. What I try to do is sell the most expensive things and the heavy things I can. He's down to 7 gold. The frustrating thing for me in Skyrim, this is another day and another morning, and he did not reset his gold as far as how much he had available. So I couldn't sell as much stuff as I had wanted to. I don't know for sure when they reset. I haven't looked at it close enough to figure it out. But that really frustrates me that I wait until the next day and I come to them, and if I've wiped someone out of gold completely, they'll have 0 gold to start the day off. So that's very frustrating for me. I know there's mods to change that, but again, I've only got one mod, Convenient Horses, so I'm playing with it as it is and dealing with it as it is. What I had done there was gone through and looked to make sure that I had equipped the best equipment that I could at the time. We're going to give Lucen the good news. Yeah, we're going to show him. And we're not going to tell him anything about that secret room that we found. Why? He thinks it's an ornamental piece, so that's fine.
Strange. It seems smaller than
It seems smaller. It didn't shrink.
I'm gonna put this back where it belongs.
So he uses it for a decorative piece in the shop, and for the rest of your time in Skyrim, anytime you come here, it's going to be sitting right there. And so we're going to check and see where he's at gold-wise. He's got 598. I'm pretty sure that's less than he had. I was checking here to see if he had a fireball scroll or fireball spell tomb, which that's what I'm looking for. That's my next piece. So I'm kind of looking here and saying, okay, he's got 598. I want to get as much as I can, and sell as much pieces as I can. He's a general store, so he buys a lot of range of stuff. Get rid of the heavy battle axe and helmets and things that weigh so much to get my weight down. But our gold is getting up there to the level that I want it to be. I keep the healing potions. I don't use them a ton. Eventually, I start selling them off because I just don't use them. Call to Arms 165. I think that was a 500 scroll, and I sold it for 165. But that's okay. That 165 is better than 8 of the small pieces, or 29. So then once I sell off the more expensive things, he's getting down to 82 gold. I'm like, what can I get rid of that I really am not going to use? And now I'm up over 2,000 gold, which makes me happy. And so that's about where we're going to leave it here. I got to decide what I want to do next. Do I want to join the rebellion? There's a couple other things that I generally like to do at the very beginning of the game, and so I have to decide which one of those things that we're going to do. Thanks so much for watching. Please put your comments and suggestions below, and please subscribe to my channel because it will help me continue on, and maybe I will finish the game with your help and encouragement. So thanks again for watching this far. I do really appreciate all of the viewers, and thank you for hopefully joining me on this journey.